Welcome to Blisstopia podcast. I'm your host, Mercedes Castellani, life purpose coach, business owner, and your spiritual guide on all things mindset, manifestation, and purpose. This podcast is a space for deep reflections, meaningful conversations to help you expand your mind, dive into the depths of your soul, and create a life that makes you feel alive. Whether you're walking, driving, or simply vibing, take a deep breath and get ready to dive. Hello, my love. Welcome to another episode of Blisstopia podcast. I'm your host, Mercedes Castellani, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics ever, which is money mindset. It is such a deep, nuanced topic, and we don't usually talk about this. Money is kind of a taboo topic, especially in groups of women. Guys are always talking about money, what investments they're doing, what interest rates they're getting, new investment ideas, and women are not talking about money. So I want to change that. The feminist in me, the rebel in me wants to change that because more money in the hands of more women means a better world. There's a reason why, if you think of microcredits are given to women, because there are studies that prove that when women are the ones that have the money, they will actually share that money with their families. They will actually provide just a better space for that family to flourish. So more money in the hands of more women means a better world. So I am committed to making women happier. And part of that happiness is money, because if we do have the money, we have different things that we can do. We have more freedom. We can actually live the life that we want to live. So in the work that I do, the happiness that I provide to women can come from making changes in their life, can come from making changes in their career, finding their purpose. And it can also come from having the level of financial abundance that they truly desire to have the life that they deserve. So money is a very important part in this equation of happiness. And I know what you're thinking. Maybe you're thinking, but money doesn't buy happiness. That's actually a limiting belief. Money allows you to create your own definition of happiness. So we can go into a lot of depth in this topic. Money, it's a topic that is very charged. It's very taboo. It brings up a lot of emotion in people. So if you enter into this episode and you notice that you're being triggered, that's a good thing. It won't be comfortable. You might get pissed off. You might get anxious. You might not feel good, but it's a good thing. We're starting to open up this discussion. And if you notice that you feel triggered, just take note. Which was the phrase that triggered me? Which was the idea that triggered me? And you can send me a DM and we can talk about it. But this conversation will trigger people, might trigger people, because the topic of money, it's a very, very emotionally charged topic. So if this happens to you during this conversation, absolutely normal. Just think, which was the phrase, which was the idea that triggered me? And you can send me a DM and we can talk about it. So today we're going to talk about 5 signs that you are pushing money away. 5 signs that you're pushing money away. And I know you're thinking, I'm just definitely not pushing money away. I love money. I want to have more money. I need more money. But trust me, there might be a part of you that is pushing money away. Not at a conscious level. At a conscious level, you're saying, I want more money. I desire more money. I need more money. At a subconscious level, you're pushing money away. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to this episode. If you're listening to this episode, you're pushing money away subconsciously. So the way this episode is going to be structured is I'm going to walk you through 5 signs that you're pushing money away subconsciously. And for every sign, I want you to do a self-awareness exercise and to think, am I actually doing this? Yes, no. If you are, you can take notes. I'm going to give you recommendations for each of these signs. I'm going to tell you why they're happening. But I want you to take each of these signs and think, am I actually doing this? Yes, no. And if you notice that you are doing some of these, then that gives you a place to start in your money mindset journey. All of this topic is called money mindset, and I'm so passionate about it because when I was in the corporate world, I actually didn't think about these things. I just got a salary every month. Every month it was exactly the same thing. Once a year I got a bonus. I was a very good employee, so I always got 100% of my bonus. But I wasn't really thinking about the topic of money mindset, all of these things. And when I decided that I wanted to create my own business, I said, like, oh, like before I had a ceiling and I also had a floor, a very clear ceiling, a very clear floor, stable floor, and a very clear ceiling. Now I have no floor, no ceiling as a business owner. So I thought to myself, and I was still in my corporate job, but I thought to myself, I really need to take a look into this topic because money mindset will be the thing that will make or break my business, because our beliefs create our reality. So if I go into creating my own business with a wrong set of beliefs, I might end up creating something that I don't want. But if I do go into creating a business with the right beliefs that support the life that I actually want, I might create a fucking empire. So I started really digging into my money mindset. And maybe this is, I was born on October 22nd. So October 22nd, you're still a Libra. October 23rd, you're Scorpio. So it might be, so I'm literally on the cusp. And I do have many things in Scorpio. Like I do feel a lot of Scorpio energy in me. And part of that Scorpio energy is when I go into a topic, I go all in, deep, obsessively into a topic. So when I tell you that I went into my money mindset, it's not I read an article or two, I read a podcast or two. No. I literally became obsessed with the topic, listened to every episode that I found on money mindset, read every article that I found on money mindset, read several books on money mindset, took at least 5 courses for 5 different coaches on money mindset. That's what happens when I tell you that I went into the topic of money mindset. Like I literally was so obsessed and also so interested in this topic because it's such a profound, nuanced, taboo topic, and Scorpio loves a good old taboo. So I went into this topic and I learned so much. And going into this topic literally allowed me to, first of all, launch my business. Soon it's going to be 2 years that I'm on my business, and it's a thriving, successful business. And I wouldn't have been able to create all of this if it wasn't for those foundational, important work that I did on money mindset. Because my money mindset wasn't on point. And I'm going to create another episode where I'm going to share my whole money mindset, money story, money journey, and literally give you full access, full transparency into my own journey with money. But today it's not the topic to talk about my own journey, but what I do want to share with you is I wouldn't be where I am today, making the kind of money that I am making today, being in the best financial shape I've ever been, with the most amount of savings and investments that I've ever had, if it wasn't for all of this work that I've done on money mindset. And I also know, because of the work that I've done on money mindset, that I'm only getting started, that it will only get better. But a couple of years ago, I wasn't able to think all of these things. I wouldn't have been able to believe all of these things. And I took myself through a lot of work and a lot of subconscious reprogramming into this space. So let's dive into the 5 signs that you are pushing money away. And again, I want you to think, am I actually doing this? Yes, no. Okay. And I'm going to explain for each of those why this is happening and how we can shift this. So the first sign that you are blocking money away, that you are pushing money away, is if you completely avoid looking at your bank account on one side, or if you're obsessively checking your bank account. So what happens? Basically, we can work in 2 different ways, 3 different attachment styles. At the end of this show, you're going to find the show notes with a link where you can take a quiz and you can find which attachment style you have with money. There are 3 attachment styles. So if you are on one extreme, you avoid looking at your bank account. You never go into your bank account because you're afraid that if you actually go and dig into your bank account, you might not like what you're going to see. So you ignore the statements, you avoid logging in, you never open the emails from your bank. If you have debt, you have no clue how much debt you have. So you just let money be, and there's literally zero control over money, zero leadership over your money. You're avoiding your money, you're avoiding your bank accounts, you're avoiding your debt, you're avoiding the whole thing because it's way too overwhelming. So by avoiding that topic, you try to gain a little bit your control back over money. If you're on the other extreme, you're constantly checking your bank accounts, constantly checking if the money has come in or if it didn't come in. You're checking multiple times a day. Even I had a client who would wake up in the middle of the night to check if the money was still there. This is an extreme case. But you could be behaving in this way, constantly checking, is the money there? Did this person pay me back? Have I paid all these things? Do I need to pay more? Am I going to have enough money? And you can feel that the energy around money, in this case, it's anxiety, it's obsession, it's clinging towards your money. So this person is moving because of fear and anxiety. So why is this blocking money? If you are on the avoidant extreme, you have no leadership over your money. It's laissez-faire. You let your money do, you let your money be, but you have no control over your money. And if you're on the other side, on the anxious side, you're obsessed with money. You don't trust money as an element who will be there, who has always been there, who will always be there, and you don't trust yourself managing money. So in any case, this is a sign that you're lacking confidence and safety around money. Money doesn't feel safe for your body, for your nervous system. Of course, here we need to go and take a look into your childhood, what your parents said about money between ages 0 to 7, but you're lacking safety. Money doesn't feel safe. So you're either trying to escape, avoid, or to control, obsessively control money as a way to find safety and to feel relaxed around money again. So what do we do? If we actually realize right now, listening to this episode, yeah, I'm actually doing one of these. I never look into my bank account, or I'm always looking into my bank account in a very obsessive manner. So depending on which of those extremes you are, you can practice trying to get a little bit more into the middle. You can practice, try to be more like the other extreme. If you are in one extreme, practice being on the other extreme. What does this mean? If you are on the avoidance side, try to pay more attention to your money. You can create money dates, meaning that you prepare a nice cup of tea, you take yourself to a nice coffee shop. I wouldn't recommend introducing wine or any alcohol because you're going to be dealing with your finances. So if you've been avoiding looking into money, prepare a nice setting. Have a date with your money. Schedule. You can do this once a month, once a quarter, but schedule a date with your money. Spend time getting to know your money, getting to know your figures. What is going on? And then if you're on the other side, on the anxious side, on the obsessive side, try to do the opposite. Don't go and look into your bank account. Maybe do it only once a week, just to check, that everything is okay, that all of the things that you expected are there, that maybe you didn't get any extra charges for something. But trust yourself, trust money, and just let money go a little bit. Let money go. If it was a person, and this is really interesting, we can look at money as if money was a person. If money was a person, and you're controlling and you're always asking, where are you? Why aren't you back? Where did you go? Do you think money wants to be in a relationship with you in those terms? What if you could just let money go with their friends and trust that it's going to come back to you multiplied? So let money go. Don't check your bank accounts and just do it maybe once a week after you've regulated your nervous system. Maybe you can meditate a little bit. You can do EFT tapping. If you don't know what that is, I will explain all of that in some of my programs, you can do EFT tapping and regulate your nervous system. And once your nervous system is regulated and you feel calm and safe, you go and take a look into your bank accounts. So that's sign number 1. You're either never looking into your bank account or you're always looking into your bank account. Sign number 2 is that you're saying, I can't afford it. I can't do that. I'm broke. I can't do that. Now, our words are a spell. Whatever you say, you are creating it. So how do we create a reality? First, there's a belief. There's a set of beliefs in our subconscious mind. Those beliefs create thoughts still in our minds. Those thoughts create words. Those words create actions. Those actions create a reality. So when you are saying, I'm broke, I can't afford it, I can't do that. Let's imagine that a friend invites you to go to dinner and you say, no, I'm sorry, I can't afford it. Or a friend invites you to go on a trip. Or your partner invites you to go on a trip and you say, no, I can't afford it. Is it really the case? Is it really, really, really the case that you can't afford it? Or maybe you could afford it, but it's just not a priority. So sometimes what can happen is that we say, no, I can't afford it, but you're not even checking. You're assuming that there's no money in there, or you're assuming that you're going to be in a negative financial position when maybe it's not necessarily the case. So every small purchase that you're doing, it comes with a sense of guilt, with a sense of restriction, and you're shutting down your own desire. Maybe you do want to see your friend for that dinner. Maybe you do want to do that trip and you're just shutting down your desire. So why does this block money? This phrase and anything that you say with your mouth, with your vocabulary, is rewiring your brain for lack or for abundance. And when you say, I can't afford it, without even checking, you are confirming to your brain that there's lack, that you cannot do that there's scarcity, that there's not enough, etc. So what I will invite you to do is to reframe this. So let's imagine that a friend invites you to have dinner and actually there's no money in your bank account. So literally you cannot do it. What if instead of saying, no, I can't afford it, you could say something like, I would love to see you, but why don't we have coffee instead? Maybe coffee, depending on where you live, is whatever, 3, 4, 5, 6, wherever you live, euros. And dinner can be a lot more, depending also on where you go and where you live. But what if you actually want to see your friend and you have very little money left or no money left? What if you could say, instead of I can't afford it, what if you could say, I would love to see you, but why don't we go for coffee instead? What if you could say, I would love to see you, but what if we do it in 2 weeks' time when I'm going to be a little bit more free? You're never saying that you can't afford it, right? You're never saying that you can't afford it. You can say, I would love to see you. Let's do something else. I would love to see you. Let's meet in 2 weeks' time when I get my new paycheck. That is if you literally have no money and you do want to see your friend. If you actually do have the money, you do have the money. It is there. You could actually afford that dinner. Do not say, I can't afford it. In any case, we should not say, I can't afford it. What if instead you could say to this friend who wants to go for dinner, maybe it's not a priority for you. Maybe with that money, you actually want to do something else. You want to buy a gift to your partner because it's his birthday. So that is what you plan to do with that money. What if you could say, I'm sorry, I'm really busy right now. What if we try to schedule later in the year? If it's a true friend, I bet you're not going to say that. But if it's someone that you're not really interested in seeing, maybe it's just an acquaintance that you don't want to see that much, you can just say, shall we meet later on? I'm really busy right now with work or something like that. You're never saying, I can't afford it. You can literally say, let's do something else. Let's meet in 2 weeks' time. Or you could also say, this is not a priority for me right now. Let's imagine that you're trying to buy a house and you do have the money for a dinner, but it's just not the priority right now. The priority is to buy the house. So you're saving to buy that house. So what if you could say, I would love to see you, but going on dinners is not a priority right now. Why don't you come to my place and maybe we can cook something? So you see how you can elegantly say whatever you need to say. These are just a bunch of examples, but I trust that you're going to be creative and intelligent to come up with your own examples. But the point is, do not say, I can't afford it. Because when you say, I can't afford it, or when you say that it's too expensive, for example, that's also another one that we need to avoid at all costs. You're telling your subconscious mind, I can't have it. There's lack here. I cannot have this. When in reality, you are in control of your money and you decide not to do it because you have other priorities for your money right now. But you're the one who's in control. You're the one who's in charge. There is money there, and you plan to do things in a different way with the money that is in there. So do you see how even as we speak about this, it just feels different? Just sit with your body for 1 second if you can and it's safe. Close your eyes for just 1 second and think, I can't afford it. And it's like you shrink. I can't afford it. I can't do it. Oh my God. Anxiety. But if you think it's not a priority right now, I'm going to do something else. There's this sense of control. There's this sense of power and inner confidence that comes back. And that is just one phrase and literally changes the energy in your body. So that's sign number 2. If you're saying words like, I can't afford it, that's too expensive, any kind of negative words, literally around money, any kind of phrases that are limiting your relationship with money. Sign number 3, and this is a sneaky one, is if you're overspending to get back into scarcity. Let me explain what this looks like. This looks like maybe you've had a childhood in which scarcity was familiar. Maybe you've had a childhood in which debt was familiar, uncertainty was familiar. So your money mindset and your nervous system are used to scarcity, uncertainty, instability, because that's what feels familiar. Now let's imagine that you get a very good job and you have a salary that is stable, good salary, amazing. And you upgrade your income in some way. Maybe your salary is better, maybe you're renting an apartment and you're getting a new income. So your income becomes better and you find yourself spending more, a lot more, with no control over your expenses, and you end up exactly as you were before. So let's imagine that you were making 50K. You were expending all of your money, you were feeling scarcity at the end of the month, and you were waiting until the next paycheck. Now let's imagine you raise your income to 100K per year and you're expending a lot more money, and you find yourself in the exact same scarcity that you felt when you were making 50K. Now you get another promotion, another salary raise, and now you're making 150K per year and you're expending a lot more. And you end up in the exact same place that you were when you were making 50K or 100K. So you get the point. Basically, you raise your income, but you subconsciously are raising your expenses as well. And you end up in the exact same place where you were before, because that place feels familiar. So what this looks like is that you are blowing your money right after you get paid, that you're creating cycles of feast and famine. Basically, you have a lot of money you're spending, and then there's no money and we're don't doing anything. And you are self-sabotaging. So when things start to feel good, something unexpected happens. Some emergency comes up. And those emergencies are your subconscious mind attracting difficulty, attracting emergencies, because feeling safe, overflow, having more than enough doesn't feel familiar. So your subconscious mind is attracting problems to lose money, to end up in the exact same place where you were before. So why does this block money? Because basically this means that your subconscious mind and your nervous system are addicted to chaos. They're addicted to survival, because this is the familiar hell This is what your subconscious mind, your nervous system knows, and is trying to keep you there. And even though it's not comfortable, it's not nice, it's what you know. It's familiar. So what's familiar for the subconscious mind somehow becomes safe. And what is unfamiliar becomes unsafe. So chaos feels familiar, and therefore it feels safe. And it feels safer than a life of overflow and abundance, because that's unfamiliar. So abundance feels unsafe, unknown, unearned, and you're subconsciously creating dips in your abundance in order to come back to where you were before. What do we do if we're actually experiencing this? And I do have clients who experience this. They have a very good salary, but then they're spending money. And they end up at the end of the month with very little money because scarcity feels familiar. And their subconscious mind and their nervous system is actually bringing them into what they know. So how do we shift this? First of all, by becoming extremely aware. Okay, I'm doing this. Now I have more money. I'm going to be overspending. So what do? We need to control money a little bit more. We need to say no. I know I'm going to have the tendency, the wish, the desire to spend on things that I don't really need, but this is my subconscious mind running the show. Now I'm going to be the one who's running the show. I'm going to be the one who's deciding. And therefore, I'm going to control my money a little bit more. What are the things that I actually 100% need? Okay, this, boom, 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 boom. Electricity. What are my needs? What are the things that I actually need in order to survive? If I don't do this, I'm not going to survive. So you need housing, you need food, you need petrol, you need to pay your electricity bills, your phone bills. Okay, now all of the other things, you don't need them. So you can give yourself a certain budget and have a budget for those wants, for those desires that you have. And you can keep the rest. And if there's money left at the end of the month, you can sit with that feeling. Why does it feel so weird to have some money left? You can sit with that feeling. You can start getting used to having money in there left. You deserve to have money in there left at the end of each month. So something that you can do is to start tracking your financial set point. So we all have a thermostat. There's like an amount of money that feels comfortable for us. And if you really think about it, if you think about the last year, where have your finances been? If you think at your total money, were you in the negatives? And maybe that feels familiar for you. Maybe your set point is in the negative numbers. Maybe your set point is in zero. Whatever I make, I expend, and I end up in zero. Maybe your set point is, I don't know, 10,000 in saving. Maybe your set point is 30,000 in saving. Maybe your set point is 50,000 in savings and investments, etc., etc., etc. So we all have a set point, and basically it works like a thermostat. So whenever we make less money, that feels uncomfortable, unsafe. So something happens and we get back to that number. Then if we're making more money, we also feel uncomfortable, and then something happens, we lose something, and then we get back into the level that we had. So what we want to do is we want to understand, what is my financial set point? Where have I been in this past year? What is my financial thermostat? And we want to raise that thermostat slowly but surely. So that's sign number 3. You're overspending to get back into scarcity. Sign number 4 is if you feel guilty for pampering yourself with anything that is not 100% a need, 100% an emergency. Maybe you just want to do a massage. Maybe you just want to buy a luxury bag because that would feel good, and you could actually do it. You do have the money. You do have the money for the massage. You do have the money for the trip. You do have the money for the luxury bag, but you're feeling guilty and you don't do it. So basically What this looks like is that you're only treating yourself if you're totally burnout. You tell yourself that this is an emergency. I need to get this massage because it's an emergency, because I'm feeling so stressed at work. Instead of saying, you know what? I actually feel like getting a massage. I'm just going to get a massage. Maybe you feel like you need to justify every time you buy something nice for yourself, or you're downplaying your tastes, your desires, your worth. I do have a client who, before we worked together, she wanted to get herself a coffee because having a nice coffee made her feel really good. And it was good for her energy, for her day, but she wasn't allowing herself to desire that coffee and to get that coffee that she could totally afford. Totally afford. And she was calling this an emergency. It's an emergency. I need to get this coffee. So she needed to put the word emergency in there to justify that she's going to do something nice for herself. Then, of course, we've worked. Now this is no longer an issue. She doesn't need to use the word emergency anymore. She's just buying coffee for herself, pampering herself because she fucking deserves it. So, but you can see how we don't allow ourselves to desire what we actually desire and to get what we actually desire. So why is this blocking money? Because there is guilt around receiving. So basically you're telling yourself, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this massage. I don't deserve this coffee. I don't deserve this luxury bag. I don't deserve this trip. If you can't receive small pleasures like a coffee, a massage, a trip, you won't be open for bigger abundance, for bigger, higher, more expansive levels of abundance. So how do we shift this? You can practice buying something that you desire without any guilt. Just let it feel good. I want to get a massage. Do something that you don't normally do. I want to get a massage. I'm going to go get a massage. Why? Because I feel like, because my body would feel amazing with a massage. Zero guilt, 100% pleasure. And you don't need to justify this. You don't need to be burned out. You don't need to be tired. You don't need to work hard before you do the massage. You just go and get your massage. So the question for you is, what would it look like to normalize luxury, to normalize pleasure, to normalize abundance? What if this was your everyday life? You just wake up and you have great food and your body feels great because you're wearing amazing clothes, and you get a massage and you go to your yoga or Pilates class and you feel amazing in your body and you're wearing the most amazing sportwear, and then you have this delicious €10 matcha latte, who cares? Delicious. And what if this was your life? And then you book that holiday just because you want to book a holiday. And then you decide which bag you want and you buy the bag that you want. What if this was your life? What if you actually allowed yourself to desire and to have these things? Not because you've worked hard, just because you're alive. You deserve it just because you're alive. Just because you have a human body. So sign number 4 is that you're not allowing yourself to buy something just out of pleasure. Sign number 5 is that you're not charging what you're worth. Whether you have a corporate job or you have your own business, this could look like receiving a salary or receiving a certain price that you charge your clients. You're not charging what you're worth. So if you have a work, this could look like feeling imposter syndrome. This could look like knowing that you're being paid less than your colleagues for the exact same work and you're not saying anything about it. Maybe you're not even pissed off about it, when in reality you should be pissed off about it. Maybe you're settling for just enough and you never ask for anything else and you never negotiate and you never show that you're not happy with what you're getting. So you're not asking for more. They're paying you whatever they want to pay you, and you're just sucking it up and doing the work. And you're doing it probably very, 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 very good, giving a lot of value for very little salary. Because deep down, you believe that you're not worth more. Money and love are extremely linked to our self-worth. So if you're not asking for the salary that you deserve, we need to immediately take a look into self-worth. Immediately. Because the cause is always self-worth. How much do you think you're worth? Maybe you're going to give me a small number. How much do you think your talent is worth? How much do you think your money is worth? How much do you think your energy is worth? How much do you think your knowledge is worth? How much do you think your determination is worth? How much do you think your creativity is worth? Maybe not a lot if you're happy with a very little salary. And the same thing if you have your own business. Maybe you have very low prices because you're afraid that people might not buy if you put a higher price. Maybe you're discounting yourself before anyone asks because you're like, oh my God, I really want to have these clients. I really need to have these clients. Let me give them a discount. So why is this blocking money? Because you're undervaluing your work. Whether that's a corporate job or in your own business, you're undervaluing your work. And the world is just reflecting that back to you. And energetically, you're telling the company, you're telling your clients, I'm not worth more. I'm worth these little peanuts that I'm getting over here. So you need to be very, very objective and think, how much value do I actually bring to the table? How much value? Let's think about the corporate job and then about the business, because it depends a lot on what is your main income stream. Let's think about the job first. How much value do you bring to the table? How much value does your experience bring to the team? How much value does your knowledge bring to the team? How much value does your own personality and energy and just the fact that you're always positive and cool and always optimistic, how much is that worth for the team, for the company? How much are other companies in the same industry and same position paying? How much do I want to receive every month? Because I want to have a certain life. And then you put your price and then you ask for that price. And if you need help for the negotiation, you know who to talk to. I've actually helped clients double their salary, literally double their salary. From one work, they went into another company and I literally helped double her salary. And now she has a completely different life because of the negotiation that we did, because she started owning her worth and she asked for what she actually wanted and deserved. So that's one thing. And then if you do have your own business, how much is your presence worth? How much is your energy worth? How much is your knowledge worth? How much is your experience worth? How much is your creativity worth? How much are other people charging for these type of jobs? How much do you want to earn to have the lifestyle that you deserve, that you want to have? So the question for you is, if you believed your worth completely, how much would you ask for? How much do you want? That's the only question you should be asking yourself. How much do you want for this job? What's fair? What's fair? What would be a fair exchange of energy for this work that I'm doing? And you just put your number and someone is going to pay for that number. The right company, the right clients will pay that number. So that was sign number 5. You're not charging what you're worth. So let's recap very quickly for you. Sign number 1 is that you either avoid looking at your bank account or you're always looking at your bank account. Sign number 2 is that you use words like, I can't afford it, it's too expensive, I can't do it, I'm broke. You're using words that create a reality of lack. Sign number 3 is that you're overspending to get back into scarcity because it feels familiar. Sign number 4 is that you feel guilty for pampering yourself with self-care or luxury. And sign number 5 is that you're not charging your worth, whether that's in your job or in your business. Wow. I think after this episode, you're going to have a lot to process. And I would love to know which one of these is hitting the hardest. So if you want to send me a DM and share this with me, I'm here for you. Yes, this is a moment of truth and self-awareness, and it's definitely not easy when we open up and we're like, oh my God, I actually have a blind spot. There's something I didn't know about myself, and I'm actually discovering this right now. It can be hard. So send me a DM. You have my Instagram in the show notes. Send me a DM. Let me know which one has been a little bit more challenging until now, and I can absolutely support you with that. And also, if you want to find out what is your attachment style with money, meaning whether you're on the avoidance side, on the anxious side, or in the middle, if you're not really clear about what's your attachment style, you will find a quiz in the show notes that I love. I had so much fun creating this quiz. So this quiz will allow you to understand your relationship with money, to find out what is your attachment style with money, and to actually understand how you and money relate. What is that relationship like? So you're going to find the link in the show notes. You can take that quiz. Thank you so much for joining into this week's episode. I am so excited to be diving into this topic of money mindset with you. It's a topic that I am absolutely passionate about. I just love talking about money, and I love women creating lives of way more abundance. So tune in into next week's episode, because we're also going to be talking about money. We're going to be covering 10 limiting beliefs that are holding you back. So that's also going to be a nice exercise for self-awareness. I will see you on the next episode. And in the meantime, in Blisstopia we trust. If you loved this episode, spread the word, share the episode with a friend who would love to hear this, subscribe to the show, and leave a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube. This real quick action on your side helps the podcast grow, reach more women around the world, and it would literally make my day. I will see you next Friday for the next episode, and in the meantime, in Blisstopia we trust.